I hope you're ready for an extra special Coffee Connection Live today. The USO's very own Nicole Vogel and Liz Lee are chatting on all things military spouse life. It's going to be good. So, ladies, I will let you take it away.
And welcome everyone to this very, very special edition of Coffee Connection Live. We are so glad that you are here with us to spend an hour, 45 minutes, and no, 45 minutes to an hour, or we can spend all day. You guys want to spend 8 hours today? Let's do it. With Liz and I, we're thrilled to have you here and look forward to a great conversation. And as Danielle mentioned, please don't be shy. Feel free to join us in conversation in the chat box for those that are watching us live right now. But I'm Nicole Vogel. I have been a military spouse for 12 years now. It's gone by. It seems like it was yesterday where I was like, what, military? Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. So we have PCS 4 times, and I'm an Air Force spouse and have 2 little ones, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So that's a little bit about me. I like long walks on the beach. I love to travel, love to camp. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me, but I want to hand it over to Liz too to introduce herself for those who might not know her, and we'll just dive right in.
Thank you, Nicole. Hi, everybody. I'm Elizabeth Lee, also known as Liz. I am an Army spouse, and we will celebrate our 12th wedding anniversary next month. So also hitting up that dirty dozen. To me, it doesn't seem just like yesterday, because I remember when I first met my husband and he said he'd been in the Army for 10 years. And I was like, he's a lifer and he still has so long to go. And we'll hit more on that in a minute, but he's at 25 years now. We've lived in 8 houses since we got married 12 years ago. We have 2 kids, 2 girls who are 6 and 8 years old. We have a pug that we rescued on Okinawa who's still with us at 12 years old. And we live outside of Tampa, Florida for another 6 weeks. And then we make our final PCS, which again, we'll hit on in a minute. So thanks everybody for being here. We always love having you join us. We feel like this is our safe space to talk about all things MilSpouse. And this is an extra special one for Military Spouse Appreciation Day.
Yeah, this is super exciting for us because we love hanging out together and we love hanging out with you. So we hope that you have a cup of something that you're able to sit back and relax and sip on. Cheers to you all. Happy Military Spouse Appreciation. We're going to say week. Tomorrow's the actual day, May 7th, but it should be Military Spouse Appreciation year, you know, every day.
Every day, every week, every month, every year.
Yes. So cheers to you guys. We appreciate you, and see if I can drink coffee without spilling it all over myself. All right. So again, this conversation is for all of you to make sure you're connecting with military spouses around the world too. So what we like to do is make sure if you're able to share a LinkedIn profile, you can go ahead and put that in the chat box. That way you guys can connect offline. And if you don't have LinkedIn, we also encourage any kind of way that you want to share your information in the chat box. Feel free to do that as well. But we do like to promote the LinkedIn just because it's an easy way to make those professional connections. So, all right, let's talk about Military Spouse Appreciation Day. So we're celebrating it this week. There's a lot of fun stuff going on throughout the world at USO centers, but I wanted to touch on with you, Liz, and then with everyone joining us, what is something that a military spouse did for you that really meant something special? Like, I had no idea this was coming, and look what so-and-so did for me. So something that when I was writing this down, I was like, something that was unexpected when we were living in Washington, D.C., one of my military spouse neighbors randomly dropped off just a box of goodies for me. And she's like, this is for you. You know, I don't expect you to go and do this for me, but I just wanted to leave you like a little coffee cup, some coffee, some snacks, just little trinkets. Like, that was completely unexpected, but she just wanted to know, I'm thinking of you. We're here for you. And hey, this is for you. So I thought that was really, really sweet. And just little tokens of appreciation that people do. I think military spouses are really good at that. So Liz, is there anything that comes to mind for you?
Absolutely. There's actually 2 that came to mind, but I'll just hit on one because it's very similar to what you what you hit on. But I think military spouses are so good at putting ourselves in another's shoes, because we have been there and we've done that, and we're looking out for everyone because we know what it felt like for us. And Steve and I got married. We first met in Okinawa because I was working for the USO, like I am now. We moved back to DC when we were still dating, and then 2 weeks after we got married in the DC area, we went back to Okinawa for 2 years. So I really only knew military spouse life overseas with an FRG to take care of your every want, your every need. When your spouse was gone, the FRG was there to like lean on. Fast forward a few years, we had our first baby when we were living here in Florida. We had our second baby. We had just moved to Maryland, to Fort Meade, and I was like 7.5 months pregnant when we moved. I didn't know a soul, but they knew about me because my husband had come in and he had told a few people, oh, my wife's expecting a baby pretty soon. This group of spouses set together a meal train for me. So we'd only been there about 6 weeks when second baby came along. Steve went back to work right away, and I didn't know anybody, and I didn't have family anywhere nearby. And every day for like a week, these women would show up with their kids and food, and we had food nonstop, and desserts and homemade stuff and catered stuff. And not only was it this amazing outpouring, but I also got to learn a lot about everybody because we got to visit for a few minutes. And I'll never forget that. The woman who set it all up did that every time somebody in the unit was having a baby, and it was just the coolest thing to like feel the love when I did not expect to have that group of spouses looking out for me. And it was definitely a time when I needed it.
I love it. And it's when it's unexpected too. I just feel like when you least expect it, it comes. And so I think that that's a lesson for all of us too, is that we make sure that we're trying to spread that love and do those random acts of kindness for others throughout the year as well. So, but sometimes I know somebody in there mentioned, how are you managing 2 children? It's like, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, sometimes it's like that season. I'm in that season where I can't even read a book right now because I'm so busy running around chasing these 2 little ones around the house. So, and I think it's that season where, people are able to give us love, give us the love. And then when it's the season where I can give others, I definitely will. So something to think about. But let's jump into another fun topic. So Liz is actually going on a very fun adventure in the next couple days. Let's talk about that and how you're focusing on you.
It's been a understatement of the day. It's been a rough year. It's been a rough 18 months. It's been a while. When the pandemic first hit, my husband was still deployed in Iraq, and he came home about halfway through it last summer. But still had to, go right back to work, and we've had kids home, and it's been a lot. So I'm taking some extra time to focus on me. And I have 2 very close girlfriends here who live in the neighborhood. And we decided we needed a Disney weekend for Mother's Day weekend. So we booked a hotel at Disney World, and we're heading out tomorrow morning, and we're going to spend the day, just us 3 moms, no husbands, no kids, just us at Disney World. And we're going to spend the night, and we're going to sleep in, and we're probably going to get room service, and we're going to swim in the pool. And it's truly a me day. When I put in my time off request, I said, this is a me day. I can't even pretend that I'm doing something work related. Like, I think it's just really important that we take care of ourselves. And I'm an advocate for sort of taking care of yourself in little ways every day anyway. Like, I work out every morning, and it's my time. And if my kids come over to me and need something, they know, like, this is mom's time, and I must really, really need something. But to take an actual day and spend a night, kudos to my husband, who was like, yeah, I can handle things for 24 hours. But also, I just think we all come back refreshed from taking that time off. But Nicole, I was actually inspired by you because you recently took some time for yourself. And I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so thank you for asking, because this was one of those days where I decided, and actually my husband encouraged it. So thank you, Carl, for throwing this my way. But he was like, you need to go out and just do just spend the day doing whatever you want to do. And I'm like, why did it take him to tell me that I needed to do this. Cause usually I'm one to just be proactive and do it, but it's like, I've just been so into the kids and into life and everything else that it's like, no, this is, yes, I took that opportunity and I ran with it. So on a Saturday, I woke up and I had breakfast and I left the house and I said, I'll see you later on this evening. So I just did little things. I had no agenda. I had no idea what I was going to do. So I basically just typed in, here's something you might not know about me. Liz knows this, but you guys might not know. I'm obsessed with thrift stores. I love thrift stores. I'm saying it here, right now. But so I typed in a little town that's nearby and I typed in thrift store and I was like, we're going to start there. Let's do it. So I got to walk around this amazing thrift store and just found like random things that I didn't know I needed, but then I definitely got, and then went to a nice place for lunch and then went shopping and then did some more shopping and then walked around this little town where there was a piano just in the little city center and this guy was playing the Journey soundtrack and singing it. And I was like, this is one of the best days ever. I am so happy right now. So it just, I just took the time to slow down and do what I wanted to do. And we need more of that. Definitely need more of that. So I was calling it a me day. I needed a me day. And it was good for the soul. It was good for the family because I came back refreshed and my husband said the kids were fabulous. So I was like, well, this might need to be a regular thing. So yes, cheers for me days. I hope that you guys out there are also taking some time and making sure that you do me days as well. So Danielle, I wanted you to jump in because I know there is a lot going on in the chat. So is there anything that we should be addressing right now?
Don't worry, no need for FOMO. Just a couple of really nice stories about, actually, we're still getting a couple stories about how a military spouse has helped them out. Someone, and sorry, I'm just going to call this one out because it's one of the most recent ones that came in, but 3 weeks before she was due their first child, their house got broken into and all of their baby shower gifts were stolen. But then some spouses organized a last minute baby shower and helped replace all those items. So it was like terrible, but a beautiful story, all wrapped in one. So we're talking about that, and you've got plenty of people agreeing with you on the thrift stores.
Yay, good. Let's all go thrifting together. Let's figure that out.
That would be so fun.
Wouldn't that be so fun? Oh, I love it. Well, thank you, Danielle, for that. And now we have goosebumps because that's an amazing story. So, so good. All right. So, Liz, you talked about you're in your house for about 6 more weeks. So let's talk about that a little bit. What's going on?
Okay, so my husband has been on active duty for 25 years. And when I first met him, he said he was a lifer. So I was prepared for that. But a few years ago, he had said he was going to do 26 years and retires in 06. Like he calculated and he's like, I can get a pension of X and we'll retire at that point. And then he pinned on his latest promotion and he did 3 years and that's all we owed. So 25 years is coming up. He hits 25 actually next week. So he got home from Iraq in June and he dropped his papers August 1st. And so August 1st of this year, he will officially be retired. So we are moving to Louisiana, to his hometown. We're building a house. We've been building a house since, I guess it officially got started in September, and hopefully it'll be ready July 1st when we get there. I hope. They're pouring the driveway right now. I got a text from my mother-in-law right before we started. So the driveway's going in. We'll at least have a sidewalk, but we're really excited. My kids, my 8-year-old has been in 8 different either schools or preschools. This is the very first time ever that she has stayed in the same school for 2 consecutive years. I know you guys can relate to that. Like, it's crazy how many times our poor children have had to adjust. And they are both so excited to not have to move ever again. We literally refer to this as our forever home, as if we're a bunch of foster puppies getting ready to be adopted. We're also excited to stop moving. This will be house number 9 in our marriage, house number 7 for our kids. So we're really looking forward to it. Although I have to say it's a little bit daunting. So if there's anybody who's been through retirement already who's joining us, please drop some words of wisdom. I'm not so much worried about me because I'm not active duty, but I even though my husband says he's not worried about identity issues and like feeling left out when he's no longer part of the Army. I kind of worry that he might be, and just he doesn't share emotions, so I would never know. So anyway, that's what we're looking at, retirement here very soon.
That's crazy. And then with your house, I mean, there's so many different rooms to just think about, but which room are you most excited about?
My office.
Oh,
I
yeah.
am so excited for my office because it will have a door. And here I work in a hallway. I'm right by the front door where our landlords have this beautiful built-in office space that they probably used maybe twice ever when they lived here. But since I work from home full time, that's been my space. And even though our kids have been back to school, in school for this whole school year, when they're home, there's no way to shut the world out from what I'm doing. So everyone in our organization has seen my kids run around in the back of a Zoom call. I'm no longer embarrassed about it, but it does drive me crazy. So I'm really excited for my office because it's 4 walls, 3 windows, and a door. And it's just going to be like my little she shed.
I love it. Your she shed. Yes, so important. So important. One I want to throw, because you're talking about an office. So I did want to do a plug for our co-working space at Fort Belvoir. Shout out to Maura Gondek, who is on the call right now, but she's been helping out with that initiative. But for any spouses in the DC area, I don't know if you knew this or not, but there is a or at the USO Fort Belvoir location, there's a like a space just for military spouses to work out of. So make sure you check out the USO Fort Belvoir Facebook page for more information, because that is just for you to go. And if you don't have what's it, 4 walls, 3 windows and a door, or anywhere in your house where you're just like, I need to go and get a quiet space to work, that is a place for you that they set up just for you to work out of. So very cool initiative. And I didn't know we would segue into that, but hey, it worked out well. So
Perfect.
yeah, it worked, but very exciting. So I can't wait to hear more about your house, Liz, because that's just going to be, you're gonna have to tell us all the decorating tips and all the, just moving of the furniture and all the things that you might have to go to the thrift store too, because you're going to have this new house where you're like, I need more things or whatever, or you might just be like, I'm going to be minimalistic and I need nothing. So, it'll be.
My dream is to be a minimalist, but the reality is everywhere we go, we collect stuff, and I'm not willing to get rid of any of it. So it's not anywhere in my future, sadly.
Well, and that's the thing too. I think the past year, with us, hoarding like toilet paper and stuff like that, like I used to be able to say, oh, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of this. And now I'm like, no, I will keep all of this now. I want to keep all of, like, it's so odd. So for what's been going on the past year, and I know it's been a stressful time for so many, for all of us, really. What are some silver linings that you've seen throughout the past couple months, or that you've experienced, or that you can say, you know what, that happened, but let's focus on the positives of what happened?
It's so cliche, but truly the chance to like stop and just spend time with family. I'm so grateful for that. Like I said, my husband was gone when it first happened, but we live here in Florida, and March, April, and May of last year was really warm and sunny. So my kids and I were out in the pool every single day. School, they didn't know how to do virtual school, so they would get on Zoom for about a half an hour, and then they'd say, all right, well, go read and do flashcards or something. And it was sort of like, okay. And we would just play. The kids and I, we played badminton out in front. We drew chalk and we swam, and we just got really creative. We had a lot of family movie nights. I learned how to use Disney Plus, and we would watch things all the time. So as cliche and silly as it sounds, it really was just the chance to stop saying, I don't have time to play Barbies with you, and to actually stop and play Barbies.
Right.
So I'm definitely thankful for the family time that we were forced to have and blessed to have. How about you, Nicole?
Same. I mean, it's one of those things where we were truly able to stop, smell the roses, and get crazy creative on things to do. Getting out the paintbrushes and the dusty canvases that have been sitting in the closet that we're like, we'll use it someday. We used it. We were painting a lot, and we were getting outside and camping outside, like just getting the tent out and camping out back and going on adventures that we always talked about, but we made it actually happen. And sometimes we'd bike to these little locations, so it was really cool to say no and not say no and say, let's figure this out. We also went and ended up getting a camper because we were PCSing cross country. And it's something that I don't know if we would have done that or not because of everything that's been going on. But we decided to do it. And it has been one of the best things for our family to go to a location where there is no internet, you unplug and you just focus on your family and nature and doing things outdoors. So definitely silver linings there, but curious to see what the spouses are saying in the chat box, Danielle, if anything's coming our way that we should hit on, because we're hitting on a lot. So
You sure are. Someone said they would have loved having a camper on their recent drive, but we're talking about ideas of going thrift store shopping and tips on decluttering, and we're doing all kinds of stuff over here, offering support. Someone sharing, she took a lot of me time, and it's led to her being unemployed, and other people, it's just resonating. It tends to happen, but it's important to prioritize your well-being. So safe to say you're resonating with everyone, and we're just having a lot of great chats over here.
Well, cheers. I'm actually going to take a sip of coffee and enjoy the conversation with you guys.
I love this. I can take over while you're sipping. So we've talked about how much stuff we've done with our families, but we are programs managers. We manage programs, and one of the programs that we're known for is Coffee Connections around the world. Last year, I'm sure you guys probably know this, everything had to go virtual in like the flick of a finger, truly. Last March, when the world shut down, we took everything virtual, but now our Coffee Connections are starting to happen in person again. In a little while, we'll share a list of some of the upcoming Coffee Connections in case any of you are in a location nearby and you want to check them out. But we are so curious to know, as we start to offer these things in person again, is everyone else craving in-person events the way that we are? And not just professionally, not just because of what we do, but are you guys as eager as everyone else to like go to weddings and like housewarming parties and just all the little gatherings that we used to have? We really haven't been able to do much. We had a retirement party for my husband, but we had to be very limited in who could come. And then we had to sit spaced out and we had to wear masks. Nicole, have you guys been able to do anything in person there yet?
Barely. I mean, and we've been so strict, but it's time where we're like, okay, it's time where we need to go out and start to meet people, because it's been a long winter, I guess you could say. So I think, 100%, I'm ready to definitely talk to people face to face. I mean, I love my coworkers. We're on calls all day long. But I told my husband the other day, when the Amazon driver dropped off a package the other day and I was talking to him, we talked for like 15 minutes and I was so excited. I was like, I think I just became best friends with the Amazon driver, because I asked him about where he's from, what he likes. I mean, it was just kind of like I was interviewing him, but I was like, I think it was just the human interaction that I was so excited about. So, oh boy. But also living here, this is a new location for us. It's time for me too to become vulnerable, and kind of, I need to step outside my comfort zone and start to get active, and find those connections. So I think, it's tough because it's like, oh, I haven't met many people yet. And I blame, and I can blame the past year for that and the circumstances, but it's also me. Like, I need to step outside my comfort zone and say, hey, I'm here. Like, maybe in the spouses page, hey, I'm here. I want to connect for coffee or go for a walk outside or something like that, because I know there are other spouses that are feeling the exact same way. So I'm going to pledge here right now. A lot's happening in this conversation today, guys, but I'm going to say that I will be out of my comfort zone this week and just kind of make that ask in a military spouse Facebook or social media page and start to make those connections, hopefully. And then the next time we all connect, I'll let you know how that's going. So more to come on that. But Liz, what about you guys? Like, what are you doing? Or do you feel like and you had the retirement party and stuff like that, but what are you going to do when you get to your new house? Like, how are you going to meet a new network of friends? Or you're like, I'm not there yet. We're going to focus on the house and getting settled.
No, I'm actually there. It's something
Okay.
that it's my husband's hometown that we're moving to. So he knows everybody. Like, it's a small town. His dad had a very high profile job when they were younger. So the minute you say the name of my husband's family, everyone's like, oh yeah, we know him, we know his parents. I have friends there because we've been visiting there for as long as I've known Steve, 15 years. But it's sort of like his friends' wives are my friends, and and I love them, but I'm so eager, but also nervous about making my own friends. And there's no military there. Like, there's a university in the next town over that has ROTC, but like, that's the closest military of anything. So for the first time, I'm not going to have that built-in community of people who can like relate to me. And quite the opposite. This is I grew up in Wisconsin and I'm moving to Louisiana. And the minute I open my mouth, people are like, oh, you're not from here. Where are you from? So I'm worried that I'm going to be ostracized just as soon as I open my mouth. And they're not the kind of people to do that, but this is just me putting up walls. So honestly, I don't know. I'm going to have to be super vulnerable. I'm going to have to put myself out there and just, I don't know, force myself into conversations and hopefully make some friends along the way.
You're going to have to do the stalking at the grocery store. Or if anybody sees Liz walking around the ROTC group, just kind of like scoping them out, they're going to be like, there's a lady over there that's been here the past couple days just watching us. like, anybody friends? Yeah, me, new to town? No? Okay. Well, yeah. So yes, let's all become vulnerable. And let's make some friends. And for those that have a slew of friends, is that a word? I just made it up. Share all your secrets in the chat box on what you did to find your networks, and have you guys been to coffee connections or virtual coffee connections? And are you finding connections that way as well? So we're curious to know all of the things. So earlier, Liz, you mentioned Disney Plus. So we've been watching, some shows too here in the Vogel household, but curious to know, is there anything that you've like been watching with Steve that is like, oh, I should share this with others? Like, this is something that is totally couple worthy watching.
We don't watch a whole lot of stuff together. The last thing we tried to watch together was Jack Ryan.
Oh yeah.
It was right after he got back from his deployment, and I almost think it was too intense because it was like super intense, and we both needed something a little bit more brainless. We have such different tastes in shows. He loves the World War II movies and the military history, and he would binge like the Smithsonian Channel or Star Wars. Star Wars and Harry Potter, he'll binge those. I have found this show on Curiosity Stream. If you guys don't know the app Curiosity Stream, it's called Prescription Nutrition, and each episode is only 18 minutes long, but it's this fascinating series that dives into just the nutritional aspects of everything we eat and how food can heal the body if it has the right things in it. And I do a very bad job of articulating how cool it is, but it's just fascinating to me how much the things that you consume that are not prescription, they're not over the counter, they're from the earth, can make us healthier. So that's what I've been watching. Nicole, do you guys watch shows together? I feel like we're the exception to the rule. What are you guys binging?
Well, it's tough because we're kind of the same way. Carl likes to watch things where I'm like, this is going to give me nightmares, or like I just like fluff. I like fluff right now. I need lots of fluff in my life. But he started watching a show on Netflix called Formula One Drive to Survive, and it's about like race cars in Formula One, the race series. And it's kind of like a soap opera and a day in the life. It's real. It's real life stories of these racers and what they do for their living and how they make these teams and the stress behind it and everything like that. But he started watching it, and I sat down and started watching it too, and I'm obsessed. Like, it was so interesting, and it's so interesting. And I'm not into, like I say, I'm not into it, but now I kind of am. And it's so interesting that a show can do that. But for those who have lived overseas in like Germany, in those locations, these drivers are in those types of countries, well, in European countries, and they were in Abu Dhabi, and it's just really cool to see the different locations that they go to and appreciate that. But then just the stories behind the stressors and everything that goes along with being a part of that team. And so Formula One, Drive to Survive is what we are watching right now. But then also House Hunters International, we're obsessed. Like, I feel like we've seen every episode and we're just like waiting for them to add more. So it's just fun to see all the different locations and then be like, oh, we should buy a house in, Amsterdam or in the Caribbean. But someday, right? Someday.
Someday.
Yes. So we have binge-worthy shows. Oh, I wanted to talk about to the entire group. We asked in our Facebook group, our USO Facebook group, and if you're not a part of it, they'll put the link in the chat box for you. But we asked one of the questions, who is your emergency contact? And it was amazing to see the results come in. And we asked it because we were struggling with, when we PCS to a new location, who do you put as your contact when your spouse, sometimes on the paperwork, they say your spouse cannot be your emergency contact, because what if you're with your spouse, or what if your spouse is on TDY? Who do we reach out to in case of emergency? And I always joked with the team that I put our realtor. That has actually happened twice, because once we move here, we have to find, our house, and that's the first person we kind of come in contact with. So curious to see what people in the chat box would put as their emergency contact. And in Facebook, we saw that people were putting that it's their family members hundreds miles away, that live hundreds of miles away. So Liz, what are your thoughts on that? What do you do when you have?
We have used our sponsor, the person who we literally met when we landed at the airport, and they picked us up, and I was like, what was your name? Will you be my emergency contact? My favorite story though, and I was thinking about it earlier when you were talking about the nicest thing a military spouse has ever done for you, and I'll keep this really short. When we were living in Maryland and we were getting ready to PCS to Stuttgart, Germany, I joined a Facebook group called Moving to Stuttgart, and someone had asked about like medical requirements or something for moving over there. And I had written, well, here at Fort Meade, we do blah, 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 blah. And we went to this place to do it. And the next day I got this private message on Facebook from this woman who said, I saw you in the Stuttgart group that you're moving there and that you currently live at Fort Meade, and I'm at Fort Meade and we're about to move to Stuttgart. Do you want to meet up for coffee? And I thought, sure. And so like 3 days later, we met up at her house for coffee, and she had a daughter the same age as one of my daughters. And their movers were coming like the next day, like they were getting there 6 weeks ahead of us. And we had to register for the CDC, and anyone who's been overseas or in the States and done the CDC shuffle, like, how hard it is to get in. So we needed 2 kids because we both worked. We needed them in the CDC. And this woman said, well, I'm going to have to go stand in line to register my daughter. Why don't you give me a power of attorney and I'll register your kids too? So I had literally known this woman for an hour when we got on this topic. I called my husband. I had him talk with the lawyers at work. They drew up a power of attorney. And this woman who I had known for a day was not only my emergency contact, but also power of attorney. And she stood in line from like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. to register my kids for school. Like, who does that? Military spouses do that. So, and she's still a friend today. So it worked out just fine. She wasn't an axe murderer, but we've literally used people that we've known for like an hour because they're there.
Amazing. Well, just so you all know that we are trying to figure out a way so that when you do PCS to a new location, that we can make those connections through virtual coffee connections, or even coffee connection live, or an in-person coffee connection. So if you're headed to a location and you don't have a emergency contact, or, even a contact, then we want to help you with those. So that's very important to us because we're living it And we know that that can be a challenge. And I mean, let's be honest, I don't want my realtor to come pick up my kids in case of an emergency. So
Well, make sure you guys drop the locations where you are right now in the chat box. I don't know if we suggested that before, but go ahead and like say, if you don't want to say exactly where you are, just say the installation you're associated with or the town or whatever. We'll see if you are in the same place as anybody else who's joining us today. We can make some connections.
love it. I see Fort Hood, Jacksonville, we got Tennessee, few Fort Hoods, maybe San Antonio, love that area, Fairchild. So then got DC, Minnesota, Detroit, Fort Belvoir, Seymour Johnson. Oh my gosh, I love it. North Carolina.
Love it.
Right. Good stuff, guys.
And Anchorage, Astoria, Oregon. Oh, I've heard it's so beautiful out there. Goonies, right? Astoria.
Guten Tag, Betty.
Craft beer. Oh, love it. This is fun.
All right. Well, so we were talking about Coffee Connections and Coffee Connection Live and what we're trying to do to just make sure we can get you all connected. That is so important to us. We live and breathe it every day. So we just want to make sure we can provide the goodness to you all. But we're also creating other fun programs that we think you would all be very interested in. So we just did one, but I want to kick it over to Liz to talk a little bit about it because she's the host of it. It's super fun. So tell us a little bit about In the Kitchen.
In the Kitchen is it's like my baby. We are just so excited about it because we came up with this idea, Nicole and I, because during the pandemic, we were so sick and tired of cooking the same things all the time, and we didn't feel like we were being creative. And the USO had invited this celebrity chef named Chef Joel Gamorin to come and cook with USO staff as a morale booster one day. And if you haven't seen him, he's been on the Today Show for the last 10 years as a guest chef, and he's based out in Seattle. So we put together this concept very similar to Coffee Connection Live, but it's called In the Kitchen with Chef Joel. And instead of just two of us on screen, every military spouse who joins us is on screen, and we're all in the kitchen. And Chef Joel, every time we do this, he puts together ahead of time a recipe that is something new and exciting and good for you, that is 5 ingredients, and then like 5 kitchen items, like a pot, a pan, a spoon, something like that. So really simple, really easy recipes. And we cook for 30 minutes, and then he answers questions for 30 minutes. And he's super charismatic, and he's great on screen, and he's a dad, and he's an amazing chef. And he was answering questions about all sorts of stuff when we did this back in March. So our next In the Kitchen with Chef Joel is going to be on June 22nd. It's going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern. And so if you guys can join us for that, hopefully we've got the registration link that'll go in the chat box, but otherwise check our Facebook group because we'll be putting it up in there very soon as well. And you can also catch the recording from the one that we did back in March when we made 5 ingredient enchiladas, which were fantastic. And next month we will be making gnocchi. And I don't even know if you're saying that right. I didn't even know what it was. This is all part of the learning fun, is that we all get to cook together and learn something new together. And we're going to learn how to make gnocchi. So we hope you'll all join us for In the Kitchen next month.
Gnocchi, that'll be fun. I've always bought gnocchi. So to make it, like, it sounds hard, but I know Chef Joel's not going to lead us astray. So it's going to be good. It's going to be awesome. Okay. So I want to get to some questions from the registered spouses that are joining us today. So I can answer this, and Liz, I'll have you answer it as well, because you just experienced this. So one of the questions was, how do you mentally cope with being away from your spouse 6+ months? How often do you send care packages? So the mentally cope. So we have only gone through one deployment, and at that time we did not have children and we were overseas. So for me, what I did was I booked a lot of trips because, again, we didn't have children. So I was able to just say, okay, this weekend I'm going to go here, this weekend I'm going to go here, and just kept myself incredibly busy. But also made sure I was surrounded by really positive people to keep me in good spirits. And I also decided during this time, and a lot of you, if you've been to a lot of Coffee Connection lives, I've talked about this a lot, so I apologize, but I signed up for a marathon because I was like, it takes 14-ish weeks to train and then you run. So I was like, that will take up a lot of time. And this is something that I've always kind of thought about, but thought this is impossible, but I was able to do it. So just keeping yourself busy. And the thing about care packages, when you're overseas, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but if you ship from APO to APO, it's free, I believe. Could be wrong. And it's been a long time since we've done that. So I could be way off, like I said, so don't quote me on that. But I sent care packages like every other week. And my husband got to the point where he's like, please stop sending me stuff, because my little area is like being like getting really cluttered. I sent a putting green and a putter and golf ball. Like I was sending like those like washer games where you can throw the washer into like a little bucket, because I was like, he needs things to keep him happy. But he was like, please stop sending. But I think that's not the norm. And I think that, there's a good cadence to send care packages. And I honestly think that the service member does appreciate whenever they receive something from home. So I think I was just sending bulk items that weren't very necessary. But Liz, what about you? How did you cope? Because it was longer than 6 months. And then let's talk about the care package piece.
So the first time he ever deployed, we weren't even married yet. We were just dating, and it was for 8 months. We weren't married, we had no kids, and I probably sent a care package every other week, like you. I was living in Okinawa and he was in Iraq, so it was APO to APO, but it took a little bit longer. So it was like every other month. I would bake cookies. I would put in energy drinks that I knew he couldn't get over there, because I was concerned for his nutrition and his well-being. I was like, I have to feed him and I have to nourish him. Fast forward to this most recent deployment. We're married, we have 2 kids. I sent 2 care packages in the entire year that he was away. They were filled with like artwork from the girls, sometimes mail that he had gotten at the house. It was like really practical stuff. The girls wanted to do artwork. They painted him little tiny canvases to decorate his room, because the room where he would do FaceTime with us from was so stark. There was nothing to it. It was just white walls with white sheets and a desk. So they would do artwork for him. We tried not to send a whole lot of food, because sometimes it would take months for everything to get over there. Sometimes it was just a week. But yeah, we did it twice in a year. And I apologized to him for that when he got home. I was like, I'm really sorry that you didn't get more than 2 care packages this time. But he was so busy. He didn't have time for a lot of extracurriculars there. And I think we did FaceTime just about every other day, as long as there was Wi-Fi for him. So that was a lot more meaningful, was to really see and hear each other. I think that helped us a lot more. But as far as coping, and like if you're looking at a deployment, I think, and Nicole, you touched on this, the most important advice is to always have something to look forward to. Set like little benchmarks, like plan a mini trip. Even with your kids, we got annual passes to go to Disney, because we're very fortunate that we live an hour away. And my kids and I would go to Disney like twice a month. And we would look forward to it every time, and we would make it something really special for us, or we'd go visit my in-laws, or we'd go visit my parents, or we would do something. And sometimes it's a matter of just surviving the day. I often said to people when they would say, how are you getting through this? How are you surviving? And the gut instinct is to say, just take it one day at a time. But I would go further than that. I would say, sometimes you take it 1 hour at a time. Sometimes it's 1 minute at a time. Sometimes it's all you can do to take a breath, and just take life one breath at a time, when you're like at your wit's end, and you still have 9 months to go, and your kids are driving you crazy, and you have nowhere that you can go. Just stop and take that deep breath, and know that if you can get through that deep breath, you can get through the next one, and eventually you'll be at the end of the day, and then it's a new day. So just set little goals for yourselves. That's the only advice that I have.
So good. I'm like over here, like tearing up, like this is so good. Thank you for that.
I need to get sentimental and emotional.
No, but it's so true. I mean, it's just one step at a time, and you will get through it. You will get through it. So another thing that I thought of is during the deployment time, being in Germany is where we were. And I feel like that was a really strong community to meet people and to make friends. And people would, from my husband's office, invite me over for dinner, or invite me over to do something, or to hang out with their family. And even if I didn't want to, I said yes, because I knew I needed that in my life. So and sometimes it is okay to say no, but, trying to make sure you, like, again, surround yourself around people that do care about you and invite you to things. So 100%. All right. Due to time, we do want to make it sure that you all are aware of upcoming things happening in your community. So make sure you are checking your local Facebook page, USO Facebook page, because they are putting so many wonderful events out there for you and for your family that you should definitely check that out. Also, we have a USO Military Spouse Facebook group that we're putting content in and just updates and those weekly questions that we were talking about, like emergency contacts. And the question today will look very familiar in one of the conversations that we had earlier today. So check that out. And what else, Liz? Is there anything else you want to do a shout out on?
I want to call out real quick. I just saw something pop up in the chat. Dana, who I think was in Minnesota, if I remember seeing that earlier today, she said she doesn't have a local USO. Dana, we totally feel you. You are in what we're calling the white space or the clear space. We're trying to come up with the right term for it, but you're in a place where there's military people and we don't have a USO. Oh, Dana's in Chattanooga, Minnesota. Somebody was in Minnesota. Okay, Chattanooga. Well, if you're in a place with no USO, there's now like a region that's over a USO regional office that's in charge of all of you. So if you don't have a USO nearby, maybe they'll do outreach to your location. Maybe you can join virtual USO stuff. Again, check the USO Facebook group because we're constantly posting virtual opportunities for you to participate and to link up with some other military spouses. Hopefully we can get some in-person stuff going where you are, but I just wanted to call that out because I saw her say, we don't have a USO here. I thought, this is who we're trying to reach with stuff like this, like Coffee Connection Live. Join us every month for this. We're just here to talk about MilSpouse stuff and to make you all feel like you're part of this bigger community because you are, and you're the whole reason that we're here. So try to find virtual stuff if you can. And thanks for being here.
Yes, and again, we're finding ways, we're trying to be creative with the programs that we're creating, and not only for female military spouses, but for male military spouses. Male military spouses are incredibly important to us. So it's one of those things too, where we don't know what we don't know. So if there's male military spouses out there that want us to create programs or events or a way to connect with other male military spouses, please let us know. And we are happy to work with you and try to create something that meets that need for sure. Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. We really appreciate your time. This has been a lot of fun. And for the live audience, we want you to actually stick around. We're going to wrap this part right here. So thank you again for joining us. Happy Military Spouse Appreciation Day, everyone. And we hope to see you soon.